Get started in the next session. It's going to be about 40 minutes. I'm going to move extremely quickly. A couple of reasons, a lot to cover, and because some of it's review from last year, we're going to build on creating the school of your dreams based on 7 elements that basically incorporates and is the basis for our entire student success system. And for BOCES and our districts, it really is the basis of our best practice training and certification. So breeze through that, and then I'm going to share with you some of the exciting data that will scare us, but coming together, we're going to get through. Right, Dr. Steele? Yes. That's right. Okay, good. So let us begin. And we'll have some people coming in. They have to get their coffee. Of course, I was on time for Bill, but Bill wasn't on time for me, but I will not hold that against him. That's okay. So here we go. So these 7 success elements I found in my history and working with successful administrators and teachers and leaders have, I know there's 6 here, there's a bonus one, so you'll see that in a second, have made schools successful because they moved kids, number 1, and supported teachers. If we're doing these in our schools and districts, success will occur. I'm not talking about fairy dust here, you do this and we're going to move up 25 points next year. Steady and consistent, hiring people that believe in these elements, and then over the course 3, 5, 7 years, you will see remarkable gains. So that's the goal. So what is this based on? Again, research and this idea from Marzano and McRell and their initial meta-analysis about 5, 10 years ago, and the alignment, number 1, effect size, the alignment of curriculum and instruction to what we hold them accountable for. What does each state, particularly New York, want the kids to be able to master in their 13 years, or actually P20? And if we align that curriculum and instruction, we get the highest effect size. Huge gains for kids. This is not astounding. Everyone here should know that, correct? We shouldn't be teaching dinosaurs in 7th grade because a teacher collects stuffed animals, right? So we kind of know that, but it occurs, that's why you're laughing. The second highest, and now this is where the change has come, and we're moving here in New York, not maybe as fast as we want to, but it's time spent on instruction and that nasty little A word, assessment. If done correctly, it actually saves you instructional time. You do it formatively. You do it as a predictor, so you know what the kids have mastered and have not, and then you change instruction every day like Bill said. Right, Bill? And in the network, we say, okay, what am I going to do the next day? So I need access. I can't get filtered out. And then the monitoring of instruction and assessment. We don't do a great job of that. We're getting better, right? With SLOs and our walkthroughs, and you're going to learn more about that today, and I know it's a hot topic. We're getting better because we have to, through compliance. And then expectations to achieve that all our students can achieve and all our teachers that want to become great professionals can in our system. And we support them. It doesn't mean everyone belongs. And we have to understand that. And our systems are going to have to change to make that happen. Parent involvement is very important, but look what we can do here at the school level. The school has these top 4. Parents are important. We love them. We need them. But we can control our destinies and the destinies of our students by improving those 4 things. And our system supports that. Let's go even further. This assumes, some more McRell, with an average school and an average teacher, a kid comes in at the 50th percentile, they'll leave at the 50th percentile. Makes sense, correct? Over the course of 2 years. What if we had a highly ineffective school and a highly ineffective teacher? Obvious, they come in at 50. 2 years later, they're going to achieve at the 3rd percentile. We have control over this. How about a highly effective school, but a highly ineffective teacher? The school can try to hold on, but it can't outdo an ineffective teacher. Teaching is paramount. Nothing you don't know. For instance, look at a highly ineffective school and a highly effective teacher. That teacher can overcome it and push kids higher. Let's look at this. When we have everything working, here's our goal, here's our dream. Highly effective schools, highly effective teacher. They come in at the 50 percentile. 2 to 3 years later, those students achieve at a 96 percentile against their peers. We know this can happen. It happens every day in the United States and in this state. We just don't hear about it, do we? But here's where I want you to start. Here's a goal for the next 2 years in your systems and your schools. We have change in teaching. We have teachers that have to learn new things. Let's say if they just stay average, but we're able to take some of the elements I'm going to talk to you today and the latest data and effect sizes, and we're able to improve the climate, relationships, and the systems that we're putting in our schools, and we make our schools highly effective. Even as the teachers grow, we can move from the 50th percentile to the 78th, and that would put you at a highly performing school at the 78th percentile. We want to get to 85, 90, and above, and you want to get to A+, excelling, and blue ribbon. But this is a nice start. If all the schools in the systems that are represented here were had students achieving at the 78th or higher, we'd be in pretty good shape, wouldn't we? That's our goal, and that's what I think we can work on today. So here's the 6 out of the 7 elements that we're going to review from last year. And again, this is the basis of our system and our best practice PD that we provide our districts. Systems. Unfortunately, what happens? We fall in love with a new system. We fall in love with an innovation. But we worry a little bit too much about the teachers and the adults in our system. I love teaching. I was a union member, so we're not going to go there. But we say, oh, the teachers might not like that. We may have to change the bell schedule. We may have to change what duty schedules we have. And we chop up a great innovation. We make it pale, and it doesn't change the system. The system changes it, and we get zero effect over 2 or 3, 4 years. And we say, oh, why did we spend that money? It happens all the time, my friends. We need to be disruptive. We have to take that innovation in its entirety, stretch the system so we can get the effects we're looking for. And that means sitting down collaboratively with all our groups and saying, this is what we need to do for kids. We can do it with this innovation. Now, what are we willing to do to make it happen? How often does that happen in our districts, honestly? How are we going to get there? I think PLNs will help get us there. We need to share. We need to get the courage and the strength of numbers, like that flock of, what kind of birds? Starlings? That's what we need to become. We need to start here and become that flock of starlings to get the power to do it. We also have to be proactive. We cannot let Newsday define us as districts because of one snapshot state assessment. And that's what happens, doesn't it? There's many great things going on in our districts every day. Do we get measured by that? No, you get measured by that one Sunday printing of scores. Is that fair? Does anyone like that? Lois, do you like that? No. Oh, sure you do, right? No. Is this a jumping jack time or you're all right? You're warmed up? Okay, good. Okay, good. So how about defining things we can start with? What's the percent of kids going to 4- and 2-year colleges out of our system? Do we follow that? Are we tracking that data? And I say, why aren't we? Why aren't we publishing that? Even if it's only 30% this year, next year we're going to try to make it 33. And you show those increases. You define your success. Look at all these areas we know we can show success in. And just as long as you show a little bit more every year, you have a successful system, and you'll get to whatever number you want to get to. 80%, 90%. Define yourself. Professional learning communities. And maybe I should change this to PLNs, professional learning networks. I'm going to think about that. You convinced me. When you go to a doctor's office, are there any doctors working alone anymore? They're all in what? Combined practices. You go to a lawyer. How many members are in the group? 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You go to a specialist. They work together because there's too much information out there now to be successful alone. Why don't we do that as professionals more? Hilna's thinking. Why don't we do that, Hilna? It is, but you look very contemplative. Now, you might have been thinking about what time you're going home today, but I was hoping that you were thinking about, why don't we do that? I'm going to throw it out there. We have two BOCES, and they didn't really know one another, and they were helping the same people, really. Some of them. There you go, Pat. How do we come together? We have these walls of instruction. We have these silos. How do we break them down? We have to come together, work together, set goals, use data to drive us, as long as it doesn't drive us over a cliff. We need instructional leadership. When I say that, it's not just the leaders in this room, it's every member of our districts. From the board to students to every teacher needs to be an instructional leader. You need to be ferocious and unwavering when it comes to student success and teacher support. They can't do it without you. They need someone to stand up, and they need to stand up for themselves. You need to be a servant leader. I think you guys all know that. And results driven. It has to be about students in the end, and if it's not, there's a problem. I talked to a lot of people last night and over the last month, and a big topic that comes up is we're having too many adult conversations and very few conversations that involve the word child or student. When we get back to that, it kind of makes it real clear. And the other thing, you need to duplicate yourself. Are you doing that? Do you have mentees? Do you have a bunch of people that are following you, recreating you, making yourself better in them? We need that to work. How are we doing on interviewing for administrators on Long Island? How's the pool? Is it really deep? We're the only ones that can make it deep, right? Kathy's saying, no, I know you're looking for some, right? It's not very deep right now. We have to get more. We have to duplicate. And then here's the other thing. Before we got to walkthroughs, SLOs, APPR, how often were we going into classrooms to observe our instruction? Honestly, for a tenured teacher, Christopher, what do you think? What from your experience, how often? Yeah, once. Yeah, and for non-tenured, possibly four times. Do we really know what's going on every moment? Now, we have some great educators, so they don't need us there, but walking through, being a part of that process, we have to do it more. In successful systems, that occurs. We need to do more of that. And that doesn't mean that teachers can't go and watch others' teachers. That's a successful model. But it just really hasn't been happening. ILPs, focusing on individual learners. Our system and any system needs to look at setting, pace, coursework, delivery, learning styles, and all these type of situations. What are you doing to make instruction and education ideal for each individual learner and each individual teacher? They coincide. And then, guaranteed and viable, makes sense. Alignment of students. What are they learning? When are they expected to master it? And then how much time are we allowing each student to master it? Does it make sense that every student gets 180 days to master subjects? Some can do it in 90, others need 300. What are we doing to make that happen? And here's the bonus one. One that if she was here, I was going to give her kudos. Lise Sumter, Jeremiah's lovely wife, started working with her 21 years ago. And this is what I learned from her. She was successful from the outset. She was a year ahead of me. And the relationship she had with her families, with her kids, with the Board of Education, with the administration was amazing. And I realized as hard as I could work to learn my craft, I was never going to have the effects that she has on students and on parents until I created good, solid relationships. And quite frankly, you can't run a system without good, solid relationships. It doesn't mean they have to love you. It doesn't mean that they have to agree with you, but you have to have respect. It has to be mutual, back and forth. And a little bit later, I'll talk to you a little bit more about Board of Friends. Any systems here develop Board of Friends? What's Board of Friends? It is, you're a principal, you're an assistant superintendent, you're a superintendent, you're a teacher. You go out to the parents. You go out to the community. You tell them your story. You share with them and you say, hey, Walmart, what can you do for my kids? You go to the businesses, you go to the merchants, you go to the parents that maybe they run the newspaper, or you go to someone like Bill Brennan and he runs his school leadership. How can you help me in my school, help my kids? This is our mission, these are our goals. You would be amazed over the course of 2 years how many people you get to help you in your system. Go to Honda. Honda rather give districts and schools money directly than to advertise. And this is across the nation. How many people knew that? Go to a Honda dealer. Emily, correct? Emily, in 3 years, 4 years, how many different members did we have of this Board of Friends? Support you in every way, from ice cream for the kids to bicycles to just being there and training parents on how to be better parents or what's going on in the neighborhood. Have to do this nowadays. We can't do it alone. Some of the things we talked about and some of the things that we've been facing over the last couple of years, economic downturn, we know that. Academic opportunities, how are we going to, we're cutting electives, what are we going to do to help offer all the things that our kids need to move forward? Race to the top, annual APPR, technology news, times, SLO started, we talked about last year. But we just got hit with a whole bunch of new data from the census that's going to go on top of this. So I know this dream is becoming a nightmare right now, but it will end well, I promise you. You hang with me. We said last year that some of the possibilities were you have to be modular in your system. You have to adapt modular systems to meet the needs of every learner. We talked about a student-centric approach. We talked about customization and teachers becoming the guide on the side instead of that sage on the stage. It has to happen. They have to become facilitators. And technology use has to be transformational. And what do I mean by that? It has to change the way we deliver instruction. If we have whiteboards and whatever you want to buy, the millions of dollars we're spending on technology is great. Right, Bill? Bill, I'm going to be okay with this. Don't hit me. But if it doesn't change the way we deliver instruction, we're wasting our money. We're just replacing paper and pencil with more expensive tools. We can't do that. And that's what's happened, quite frankly. So, here we go. Let's look at what we're facing. And let's feel good about ourselves over the last 30 years because schools, public schools in the United States have improved. Student results have improved. I don't care what you read, these are the facts. Now, what happened 30 years ago that made us start looking about improving? What article came out? A Nation at Risk. And from there we said, uh-oh. And we started standardized, and standardization is not bad, but we know that's not going to get us to where we're going to need to go. But we've been improving. Don't listen to anything else. The data is clear. Our kids know more and can do better and higher achievement on what we put in front of them. But there is a problem. Just as you thought I was getting to the dream, right? Back to the nightmare. Problem is, the outside world is changing faster than our kids are achieving or growing in their achievement in the schools. Our schools aren't changing fast enough. And you couple that with the readiness level of our kids continues to decline. Continues to decline. So it creates this gap. So what are we going to do as a collaborative to come together? Because no system and no person is going to do this alone. To close that gap before our public schools become relics. And that's my fear. Well, we have to move that schools up and even surpass. We're going to do it by coming together. And we're going to first have to go past these Fab 4 challenges that are new. But that's why we're here today. Common Core, and I'm going to include in that the NGAs, the next generation assessments, and teacher evals. Financial stress, we're not going to pay any attention to. It's a fact. We've got to do more with less. We've got to deal with it. Let's move on from that. We're going to talk about the fragile families. If anyone's noticed, every district on Long Island has more fragile families now. What is our plan? I'm going to give you the data on that. And then the fast pace of change outside of school, how are we going to handle that? let's move through this. To start, this is really the Common Core. I summed it up. You can leave after this. Okay, guys? You get this down, you can go. You didn't know that. I don't mean to demean. Emily's got a whole 45 minutes on it, but Em, I'm going to save you time. Look at these five statements. Knowledge in one discipline. Application within discipline. Application across disciplines. Application to real-world predictable situations, and then applications to real-world unpredictable situations. How many people have teenagers or people in their children in their 20s or beyond? Raise your hand. I do. Where would you like them to be able to live? What numbers? What do you think, Elaine? Yours is number 5. There you go. There you go. Well, wouldn't you like them to be able to do that? Because if not, they're going to be home a long time, correct? Yeah, and this is what we're trying to fight here. Michael, are you good with that? Because I think you have one home now. Yeah. Where do you want him to be, Michael? You want to be down here, correct? Where's our state assessments over the last 10 years? Sometime 2. Where's our instruction? Because of it. No one's fault, right? What's the Common Core? 4 and 5. We have a jump to make. It's what we want for our kids. It makes sense. But this is what we're built on. We need, and it's not going to take tweaks. We need to we're going to have to disrupt the system. Am I correct? Come on, we're going to have to disrupt this system a little. So, let's move on. Schools must find a new, yeah, we get that. Wonderful. Look at the fragile families now, okay? Because we're done with the Common Core. You know what you have to do, right? So, let's look at the fragile families. Who are fragile families? They're children from households of poverty. Let's define poverty. Low-income families, families of 4 below $44,000. Poverty, families of 4 below $22,000. Severe poverty, families of 4 below $11,000 a year. That's what we're going to talk about here, right? Just kind of put it as a baseline. Children from households of poverty, children from single-parent households. Children from households of poverty make up 21% of children under 18 years of age come from households of poverty right now. And it's the largest number of the kids that are 6 years old or younger. Okay, I'm going to put that out to the people in the districts. The largest number, 6 years or younger. What does that mean? Who's going to be hitting our systems in the next 6 years? Fragile kids. It's going to be the largest growth population. It goes on. In fact, if you can see here, over the last 3 years, public assistance over 8%. That's the largest growth group. Largest growth group, followed by below poverty. They're coming into our system. We know they have more challenges than we've ever seen before, yet we have higher stakes. We need a plan, and we can't do it alone. Poverty rates, highest, 22%, 18 and under. Children living in households of poverty, extreme poverty and poverty, almost 6 million under 6 years of age. It doesn't get much better, 6 to 11. They're in our system already. You've seen them as our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that you're saying, what happened? What happened? Children from single female-led households. 1 in 4 children live in single female-led households as of 2010. 1 in 4. The number of children in single female-led households grew 14 times faster than the rest of the population in those 3 years. 6 out of 10 children with poverty live in single female-led households, and this population grew over 14%. Here's the one. The disability level for children from single-family households is 1.9, almost 2 times greater than married households. What are we going to do? That means special ed for all kids less than 6 years old may go up by 50%. 50%, and that's what will be in our system. So instead of 10 to 12%, you're going to have 18% of our kids who need special ed services if we don't do something. Share of births, unmarried women, 41% as of 2008. So this trend is going to continue. And the demographic of unmarried single women who gave birth in the last 12 months, 90% were between 15 and 34 years of age. Makes sense. Almost 66% living below the poverty level. Almost 64% not in the labor force, and that also makes sense. And 57% of the women had less than a high school education, also makes sense. What programs do we have for our young mothers? They're not going to be able to attend regular school. What special programs do we have for them? We kind of, our systems aren't built for it, so we kind of turn our heads a little. Not that our hearts are, but we kind of do. There is one Savior. Every demographic, it is poor. Look at this. Our kids are not ready coming to school when they come from a home of poverty. Doesn't matter the demographic. The one piece of data that stands that on its ear is when we can get their mothers to have a bachelor's degree. Even from a poor household, 91% are ready to come to our schools at 5 years old. This is the one demographic that stands it on its ear. So what are we going to do to get our young children through and be successful in college, high school and college, so then their kids will be successful? Because the trend is bleak. And if you take that 27% or that 30%, 70 to 90% of all our kids that are not proficient are from these families. Makes sense, doesn't it? Okay? So we need a plan. And that plan is based on the concept that the average American is gone forever. The average American has been replaced by a complex, multidimensional society that defies simplistic labeling. We have to become ideal. Forget about the norm and the standard. We have to become ideal for our kids. Jack Welch, former CEO of GE, when the rate of change outside of an organization is faster than the rate of change inside, the end is near, people. I don't want to believe that, but if you look at the data, you kind of question what's happening. Bill kind of went over this with us. Changing world out there, information is everywhere. You have to be able to how to analyze and how to look and research. Wolfram Alpha, Siri, complete tasks. Kids are connected way beyond our knowing. We know they're connected in schools, even though we, unfortunately, are trying not to let them connect. Students will be able to surf the internet via their contact lenses in about 4 years. Technology's there, just got to make it cheap enough. How are you going to deal with this in schools? How about on tests? We got to think totally differently. And Ray McDulty was here last year at a model schools, and he said this right at our conference. Education does everything that it always has and then bolts on technology in addition, which is where the added costs come from. Other industries use technology to change the way they do things, which is where the cost savings comes from. And he goes on, and to save time, I won't go, but he kind of goes on and says, why aren't we using technology to save us costs? Because we're bolting on. We're really not changing the system. So here's our solutions. This is where we're going to get our dream back. Number one, we need an evolutionary system change. You're not going to go back to your districts tomorrow and do everything we've talked about and more and make it happen in 1 day or 1 year. But we have to start. We need an evolutionary approach, a little bit every year. But it has to be comprehensive, not tweaking it. Tweaking is not going to get it done. You see the stats. Technology has to be your disruptor. Kind of remember this. Let's look at the evolution of change model. We can start off incremental. I think we may be past the incremental point if we want to change the gap, to be honest with you. We're going to have to jump to number 2 and be innovative. We have enough incremental things out there that we can piggyback on. Innovative change, a fundamental change in our core practice. so we can move within the next 5 years to a decade to be transformational, something that affects the entire system. For instance, the saddle was an incremental change to riding a horse. Right? Makes sense. Makes it a little easier, right? More comfortable to ride longer. Horse and wagon was an innovative change. Now we can store things, we can carry things, we can go across the United States, we can take our family. But what was the next step? What was transformational? The car. Where do you see this going in education? How are we going to make this happen in education? I want you guys to take 2 minutes at your table. I want you to talk about something that will make a real change in education, something that will help us with the demographics that we've seen and the challenges that we talked about. And then we'll move on to the other solutions. I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes at your tables. Please talk, and our people can help facilitate if you wish. How can we get to the car? Because we need a car real quick. We need a car. And we'll stop right there, and I'm going to ask every table just to share their number one highlight. Who would like to go first? Where's the car? Give me the car. Go.
We talked about preparation for new teachers at a college level. You know, how important it is for that dialogue to happen between the school districts and the college professors. The powers that be in the college level.
Start on teacher support right from the beginning so they know what they're going to face and be prepared. Perfect. Someone else. That's a car. I'll drive that car. Who's got another car? I want to buy another car. What do you guys? Any cars?
Yeah. Saying breaking down four walls of education. Everything today is everyone has access while they're on campus within the four walls of the building. To be able to say, take that curriculum, all of the access, and have it to be access from outside from basically.
Perfect. So I'll buy that car also. So more access, better training for our teachers. Anything over here?
Yeah, we spoke about, I guess, letting ourselves and the situation get a little bit uncomfortable. We started out the conversation just talking about having a professional development session and saying, to start the session, I'm sure most of you are already doing this, or I'm sure a lot of you are already doing this, and that's it. Everyone just thinks, oh, it's not for me, whatever, you know, it's time I have to leave. And rather than doing that, discussing, I've seen this a couple of times, but we're going to try to see this more widespread, and also to say next time around when I'm around your classes, I'm going to be looking for this, because now it's like, oh crap, I better start doing it.
You're right, yeah, right, exactly. All at once, it's hitting it, right? Anything? Any cars to buy?
Well, I had just mentioned that 50 years ago we had a catalyst. Sputnik was launched. It changed all of science and math education and all of education around the country. It took a little while to happen, but a lot of great legislation was passed that really was, for me, life-changing, because I was the product of that legislation. I had science consultants, math consultants. I was saying I began to learn French in 3rd grade, and we need another catalyst, a pivotal moment that will spur the country. You know, when The World is Flat came out, I thought that did it, and what they came up with was NCLB.
Yeah.
Which, when you look at that compared to some of the legislation that was passed in 1957, it's just upsetting beyond belief.
Well said. When you said that consultants came in, that means there was collaboration between something greater than just education, right? We reached out, we came together, and I think we do that again. That's a Cadillac to buy. That's a good one. This table, anything else? Anything different?
We said pretty much the professional development to support highly effective teachers. So it was basically the professional development.
Perfect. Thank you. And yes, Jeff.
to affect an entire systems change, you've got to change the behaviors of the people who are part of that. And you don't change behaviors until you change beliefs. And as an administrator, I don't walk into a teacher's classroom and say, you need to change your belief.
Right.
The only way it works is teachers helping teachers change that belief. And that goes back to what Mr. Brennan said, the PLC process, that's where it's done. That's the core to all of this.
Excellent. Anything? Yes, yes.
We
Jeremiah.
also touched on changing the prerequisites for board members, like in the reason.
Not a bad idea.
They should be a little younger, between 19 and 30. And also, they should have children in the district.
There you go. That might be nice, right? That might be nice. Anything else from here that hasn't been said?
I just want to share.
Trish,
You mentioned Travis. See,
Yeah.
Chris and Travis.
iSchool initiative.
It's the iSchool initiative, and his name is Travis Allen.
Travis
He's
Allen.
like 22 years old, and he started his own iSchool initiative because he didn't like the way he was educated.
Wow.
So, if you want to get in touch with him.
Thank you, Trish. Great session. Thanks for that. Let's move on. Yes. Hi. Go.
My name is Robert.
Hi, Rob.
I want to comment on the Sputnik concept for a second. I too am a product of that. And I would dare say that at the time, our society was fighting a known enemy who we were threatened by. And that known threat induced us to the change that she identified. However, I dare say today, with that known threat enemy in the concept of a nation dissolved 20 years ago,
Correct.
the enemy is now us. So in these 20 years, we have not realized that we are our own enemy. And until, especially at the top of the pyramid with political inducement, our politicians should be here today to hear this, I dare say. That's the wheel on the car, like we talked about. Political change has got to be there to help us in everything that we need as educators.
I think well said. I think you're getting a lot of support in this room, but I think it's going to have to start with us, and we're going to have to we're going to be courageous. We're going to have to take steps, and we need our leaders that are well set in their districts to take some of these maverick-like steps and show the way, so that others can follow. We're going to need you to do that. That's the way our system. That's the way we're going to break out of our system. Because if you want to be a maverick and come into the system, right now a lot of them get kicked out, don't they? Or they leave. You got to keep good people in education. Yes.
Just on what Robert said, on what we're seeing, a lot of times, from my perspective, we're at odds with ourselves because of politics, because politicians are making legislation that we have to adhere to. APPR is a perfect example. How can you be innovative and invent a car when all you're worried about is filing the next report with state ed?
Correct.
And I can just say from my perspective, in my job, I probably spend 50 to 75% of my time in compliance, not in classrooms. So how do you encourage and change a system? And I have to say, for teachers, they must feel the same way. They must feel very intimidated. There's a lot of fear right now for teachers because they don't want to be rated. I mean, we all want to be successful. That's why we do what we do. And now, there's just this whole system that's pulling in two different directions. And until we all pull in the same direction, it's going to be very hard to invent the car. We don't know where we're going, and I think that's a fault of us as professionals allowing politicians to run our systems. You don't see doctors doing that.
Nope.
You don't see other professionals doing that, and I think we're absolutely have to take back what's really ours. We're the experts, and we're going to have difficulty.
Local control, true local control.
Well,
Yes, Bill.
Yeah, I just want to make one point. We go back to that concept of the wave and the pressure building, the groundswell. I'm being challenged to come up with this idea of having a tech committee in my school district. I abolished it the first year I was there because I don't believe in it. I don't believe in having an organizational structure centered around an advisory group that's going to tell me what we need to do, or make friends with people that are going to get the technology. Let's face it, that's what tech committees do. But I think it's come up a little bit. Businesses do a great job listening to their customers, and if they don't, they're not going to do well. When do we ever listen to kids? I'm about to make a recommendation that we form a hybrid virtual committee of kids, teachers, and we need those voices from these kids. And the teachers.
That's a car. That's a car. Where's that been done, right? They're our widget. Let's listen to them. They're our customers. That was a great conversation. I wish we could expand it. I have ideas on the compliance. We'll talk. We'll share that in the group virtually after the conference. I have ideas on that. You may not be popular, but you'll get your system to grow. Okay?
I don't care whether I'm popular.
So, I think you guys kind of get the idea of creating that car. I'm going to skip past this part in time. Be proactive in our leadership. We need to act now. We need to talk, but then we need to act, and we need a plan for September to start on our steps. Ideal is the new norm. What are we going to do for each individual learner? Again, I'm going to go quickly on this. I could spend a whole day on that. How do you do it? Technology is a tool, not a function. I think that's what Bill's trying to get at here. It's not a wow thing. It's what you need to do your job. Let's use technology to do the compliance and that low-level stuff so our teachers can do the high-level stuff.
We didn't have directors of pen when they came.
Right. Exactly. And these, you need data systems. You need instruction that has blended learning, RTI, professional development, PLNs, teacher success. You need systems that take care of this for you. Teachers, going to go quickly on this, they need to focus on the ideal. They need to be credible. What do we mean by that? They need to be role models. They need to have the highest degree of credibility for people. They lead kids, our kids every day. And they need to apply the high knowledge, the high application knowledge. What do I mean by that? You see these 12 principles? Do you want all your kids to be able to exemplify these? Will they be successful? Or successful people have this mindset? I say yes. If our kids can walk away with this, they'd be able to handle anything. Correct? Where did these come from? New York State Regents. 25 years ago. This is what our education system was based on. I don't see enough of it. Where did they get it from? These documents. Straight from these documents. Look at them. Then what should they focus on? This here, all the basic knowledge in one discipline, apply in one discipline. That's the kids. They can do that in a system. Why are we wasting time with teachers doing that? Scoring and giving and creating system. We need to move to this. This is the Common Core, where we're applying across disciplines, real world, and unpredictable situations. This is where the teacher should be focusing their instruction. It's going to take time. They're not trained, but in the next 2 to 3 years, if we train them here, we have systems providing this. More time on task, teaching and facilitating at a higher level. That's how we'll master the Common Core. Got to personalize it. Let the repetition volume, let systems do that for you. So, kind of go through that iteration. ILPs for all students. How about matching students' learning style with teachers' instructional styles? And in the end, our CAR, blended comprehension instruction for the teacher and the student, and practices online, people. Blended learning, we're going to have a session on it. I won't spend too much time on it. Bill talked about the power of blended learning. Please attend it. But everyone here that deals with the budget needs to know this. 30 states already have full-time online schools. 96% of all LEAs have students enrolled in distance education courses at the high school level. They predict on the conservative side that 50% plus of all our high school students will be taking at least one course online by 2015. Look what's going to happen to your ADM when they allow it in New York, and they will. They're going to go to outside education companies. You're going to lose ADM. So you need a plan within your district, because kids aren't going to be in high school as long or for the whole day like you want to, taking as many credits. It's going to become ideal. Either we're going to do it or the outside is going to do it for us. And you're going to lose budget money. And if you do it out conservatively, 4 to 10% of your budget, you're not going to get from the state. And this is what's happened in other states until they built their own systems. And Arnie Duncan, he looked at the research that his own committees ran. Blended learning has a significantly greater effect size than instructor-led or online learning. And that leads us right into Hattie's effect sizes. Effective and efficient framework. Hattie did a meta-analysis of all the meta-analyses. 913, 60,000 studies, 160,000 effect sizes, 240 million American students. And Jeremiah was talking about this yesterday. Hinge point is around an effect size of 0.40. Anything 0.40 or higher, you get the best bang for your buck educationally. Anything below, it's okay. It's better than straight instruction. If you get an effect size of 1.0, you're really moving kids. So real quick exercise. You see these 4 type of programs or strategies or tactics in the schools today, or conditions, 1 to 7, quickly. Which one do you think has the highest effect size? The biggest bang for your buck? Call it out. Vocabulary. Which has the lowest effect size? Lowest effect size up here. Call it out, anyone. Don't be afraid. Home environment. Bam. Number 17 out of the 150 top vocabulary on this list. Followed by double dosing, giving kids more time on task. What's the lowest? Socioeconomic status, followed by home environment. Now, they're in the middle. They're there. They're important. But look at all the things that are more important and less expensive. Do one more. Out of this list, what's the number one thing you can do to help kids close that gap? Become a car. Spiraling. What's the lowest thing? Attention and homework. Bam. I also gave the effect sizes here. Number 3 out of 150 is RTI, done correctly. Look at the effect size, over 1. That means kids are growing more than 1 year with a program like that. Look at the lowest, retention, a negative effect, people. It's only good if you're going to do it, maybe boys around 5 or 6 years old. That's it. Otherwise, don't do it. We need to know these effect sizes. We need to use them. We need to be efficient because we have less to work with. We need to put them into a framework. And just to give you a quick ranking, Right Path, our system, look at the rankings, look at what we support, look at our average. If you kind of put our system to work, you're going to get a great bang for your buck. Effect size. I'm not saying it, the research is. Because we support all those things. Look at your superintendents, 0.49 effect size. You have an effect. In case you didn't. In case you thought you didn't. Last thing I'm going to give you today. And this is something we'll be trying to put into our system with your help. Effective and efficiency framework. What are the costs? High to low. What's the effectiveness of the program based on effect sizes or other measures? Where do you want most of your programs to be pushing towards? Where on this chart? You want the lowest cost possible with the highest student performance. So you want to push to this quadrant, right? Okay, let's give an example. Again, this is from the Gates Foundation, and Arnie Duncan was quoting from this. Fully online model, 6,600. Cheapest way you can go. Effect size, 0.14. Blended learning model, 8,000. Of course, it's a lot more expensive here on Long Island on all these. We understand this is nationwide. Effect size of at least 0.48. Traditional school models would cost 10,000. What does that look like? Here's your traditional, high cost, low student performance. Online, low cost, still not getting any bang for our buck. Blended, best bang for the buck. That's how you would use this type of model. Collaboration, people. Districts, business, Ricks and BOCES, the community needs to come together. None of us are going to do it alone, and that's why we're here today. And add those 7 elements for student success. If we do this all together, you will have the dream, the school and districts of your dream. I thank you. We have a lot more to talk about. This is just hitting the tip of the iceberg. I'm available to you at any time, if we're a partner district or not, either online, call me up. We present this to all our partner districts, and this is the part of the training we provide. Thank you so much. You've been a great crowd. We're gonna move right into what's new, but first we're gonna have some raffles. Thank you. Need this? Okay, where's my raffles? Okay. Tony, how are you, Tony? Good to see you. Tony's lucky. Go ahead, pick one.
I didn't put one in there, I promise.
And for the new Jaguar, ticket number 613921. Hey! Congratulations. Go ahead. He'll not go for it. If you pick your own. Want to read it? Oh, no one wants to read? Okay. 613714. Hey, what's with the table over here? Hey. We traveled a long way. And now for the $25 gift certificate, let's go to the other side of the room. Because you guys are participating so well. Pick your own number. We have ticket 613719. Congratulations. We will have much more to come with larger prizes. Thank you so much.